A few days later, during dinner with his family, Farah mentions that Evan's son has gone off to train in Brea. Curious, Errol asks what Brea is, and his mother explains that it's known as the City of Swords. She also reveals that she once trained at a guild there before settling down. Hearing this, Errol becomes eager to one day travel there and unlock his true potential as a classless hero. 5 years pass, and an older Errol finally sets off for Brea City in a carriage. While traveling through a forest, the driver informs the passengers that they'll soon arrive in Brasta after climbing a hill. A woman on board strikes up conversation, asking if everyone is headed for the same destination. A barbarian swordsman replies harshly, annoyed at her. When she asks why he's so rude, he insults her skimpy outfit. The woman retorts that wearing less is practical for her dual swordsman style. Their argument escalates until the driver comments on the power of their advanced classes. Suddenly, the carriage halts as a band of wild orcs blocks the path. The driver urges the two swordsmen to prove themselves, but both lose their bravado and panic when the Orc King emerges. As fear spreads, a commoner woman clings to a boy for safety, but he shoves her aside and flees. Soon after, she and even the driver run as well. In contrast, Errol calmly steps forward and charges into the horde. He unleashes his blink dash skill, shocking the driver, though it seems impossible for him to escape the overwhelming numbers. But then Errol spins into a whirlwind, cutting down the orcs in a blade dance. The driver is stunned, recognizing the move as the iconic technique of the legendary Sword Princess, a class traditionally reserved for women. In the battle's climax, Errol dodges the Orc King's massive strike, leaps overhead, and drives his blade deep into its skull, dropping the beast instantly. Returning to the carriage, he asks the shaken driver to continue toward Brea. When Errol says he seeks greater strength there, the driver points out he already seems absurdly powerful. A curious boy on board asks Errol's class, and he surprises everyone by saying he has none. It is revealed that years earlier, Errol showed his mother the twin slice skill he had learned from a red-haired fighter. Though at first she thought she imagined it, he explained that he was able to acquire skills without belonging to any class. He then asked her to pass on the Sword Princess techniques before he eventually traveled to Brea for advanced training. Proud of his gift, his mother began boasting about him to the rest of the family. Errol's memory ends as the driver wakes him upon arrival in Brasta. Stepping out, he immediately senses the aura of numerous skilled swordsmen. He questions the driver about his class, but the man downplays himself as an ordinary person. Errol calls him out, noting how easily he identified sword techniques earlier. Pressured, the driver admits he is actually a high-ranking holy knight. When Errol asks why such a warrior would work as a carriage driver, the man explains that he sometimes takes breaks from battle by living as a commoner. Errol agrees with the driver's advice, realizing that even heroes need rest. The driver then recommends he begin his journey by joining a sword guild, explaining that the city often hosts tournaments where he can earn both money and reputation. However, he reminds Errol that without guild membership, participation isn't possible. Excited by the thought of facing strong challengers, Errol accepts the plan. Before leaving, the driver cautions him about shady guilds that prey on rookies. After parting ways, Errol heads deeper into the bustling city. He spots the Calvar's Guild recruiting knight-type swordsmen, along with other guilds open to anyone. Suddenly, a girl rushes toward him, attempting to embrace him, but he instinctively sidesteps without even looking. Stunned, she realizes his awareness must be extraordinary. Curious about him, she quickly asks if he's looking to join a guild. When Errol nods, she launches into an enthusiastic pitch for her newly founded guild. She even shows him a contract, but Errol brushes her off. Not giving up, she clings to his belt, asking why he's leaving. Errol bluntly replies that she seems desperate, making her guild look weak. He assumes she's pretending to be from a famous guild just to lure in members. Introducing herself as Lilia, she changes tactics, promising him a date if he joins. Errol flatly rejects her, comparing her behavior to his older sisters and mocking her childish figure. Offended, Lilia tries to keep her composure, as Errol asks instead about the city's strongest guild. Grinding her teeth, she tells him about Black Blade, the top guild boasting 8 A-ranked swordsmen. Intrigued, Errol heads to their grand headquarters. A guard stops him and explains that he must pass a test to join. After waiting his turn, the receptionist informs him that only advanced classes are accepted. When Errol admits he's classless, the man bursts into laughter and orders him to leave. Other swordsmen nearby whisper and sneer, but Errol insists he's confident and asks to be tested. The receptionist, unmoved, refuses to bend the rules. Just then, several high-ranked swordsmen enter, stealing the attention of everyone in the hall. Realizing the futility, Errol decides to leave. He visits other guilds, only to face the same rejection. None will even let him attempt their entrance exams. Discouraged, he recalls the sealed letter of recommendation his mother gave him, a backup plan he once dismissed as overprotective. Now he understands she foresaw these obstacles. Deciding to honor her wishes, he heads toward her old guild. On his way, Lilia intercepts him again, pleading for him to join her guild. Errol ignores her, but she continues begging, even humiliating herself by offering to lick his boots. Onlookers stare in disgust as Errol walks away, while Lilia, undeterred, vows to keep trying. Eventually, she catches up again and gestures toward a massive guild hall, insisting he's welcome there. Surprised by the size of the building, Errol questions why her guild is in such poor shape. Lilia admits they've fallen from their former glory, but swears she'll revive them. She reveals that this guild, the Dragon Fang, was once led by the famed dual swords king. Errol suddenly remembers that his mother once trained there as well. This connection convinces him to at least take a look. Lilia happily leads him inside, where she sets him down to wait. Suddenly, her drunk father stumbles out from behind a sofa, earning Lilia's furious scolding. Lilia scolds her father, reminding him that the doctor forbade him from drinking and that they can't even afford alcohol. But he brushes her off, and Errol suddenly realizes the man is none other than the former dual swords king. Noticing his missing arm, Errol listens as the man bitterly declares the guild finished and tells him to leave. Ignoring Lilia's protests, he storms out. Lilia explains that her father was once among Brea's greatest swordsmen until he lost his arm and career. Assuming this will drive Errol away, she's stunned when he chooses to stay. Errol explains that every other guild has already turned him down, so joining here is his only chance. Overjoyed, Lilia presents the contract, which Errol signs. But when she discovers he is classless, her excitement turns to disbelief. At first, she suspects a joke, but after seeing his certificate, she reacts furiously. Drawing her sword, she threatens to kill him on the spot, insisting her guild needs real swordsmen, not a classless nobody. Still stung by the humiliation he caused her earlier, Lilia grows angrier. But at that moment, a woman named Rianer enters. Lilia immediately seeks comfort in her arms, accusing Errol of trying to scam her. Recognizing him, Rianer explains that they are from the same hometown. Though Errol is confused, she reminds him of sparring together as children, then again 5 years ago. He struggles to recall until he finally remembers battling a red-haired boy. Blushing, Rihanna reveals that she was that boy. In truth, Captain Evans's only daughter. Embarrassed, Errol apologizes for not realizing sooner. As she awkwardly wonders if it's her longer hair that made him forget, he glances at her figure, making her blush deeper. Lilia then confirms that he is the same classless fighter who once beat Rianer. Determined not to lose again, Rianer declares a rematch. The three head to the guild's training grounds, where Lilia volunteers as referee. She's still baffled that Rianer would waste time on someone without a class, but Rianer insists Errol is strong and deserves a serious fight. The match begins, and Rianer launches a twin slice attack. Errol tries to counter, but her blades cut through and land cleanly. Shocked, he realizes something has changed. Rianer tosses down her weapon, revealing it to be 5 times heavier than a normal sword. With her brute swordsman class enhancing her power, his old counters won't work anymore. As her relentless strikes continue, Errol struggles to hold his ground. Admitting she's grown immensely, he knows he'll lose if he keeps fighting her head-on. Surprised that she's openly revealing her strengths, he asks why. Rihanna replies that defeating him is worth showing her hand. Smirking, Errol warns that despite her power, she still lacks the speed to land a decisive blow. With fierce determination, Rianer charges straight at him, ready to prove him wrong. Rianer parries Errol's blade and slashes toward his body, only for him to vanish, leaving behind nothing but an afterimage. To her shock, he reappears behind her and lands a strike at her neck. Confused, she asks how he avoided her attack, but Errol explains calmly that what she struck was merely a shadow. Realizing he's using a supreme swordsman technique, Rianer is stunned. She launches another flurry of attacks, but Errol effortlessly evades each one, claiming the technique is as simple as moving quickly. Insulted by his casual explanation, Rianer presses harder, only for him to remind her that mastering such skill actually took years of effort. He then vanishes again, striking her with another clean blow, yet notices it does no damage. Smirking, Rihanna reveals that her brute swordsman class boosts her defense, giving her a protective barrier. Undeterred, Errol sidesteps her next assault and delivers a flawless counterstrike. He explains that it's a technique he learned from his mother, and with that, Rianer collapses in defeat. Lilia, stunned by the display, declares Errol the winner. Frustrated, Rianer laments her loss despite all her training, but Errol praises her growth and admits she's strong, just not as strong as him. Overwhelmed, Rianer bursts into tears. Lilia rushes to comfort her, furious that Errol made her cry. Bewildered, he insists he only meant to compliment her, but Rianer denies her tears and retreats to the guild. Moments later, both he and Lilia overhear her sobbing loudly about losing despite training for 5 years. After the duel, Lilia officially welcomes Errol into Dragon Fang. Though he notices her attitude has completely shifted, she pretends she always believed in his strength. When Errol asks why the guild is in such poor condition, Lilia hesitates before admitting they are heavily in debt. Curious, he presses her, and she whispers the massive number into his ear. She explains that they could pay it off if they win the upcoming city tournament. The problem, she needs at least 3 members to compete. Errol then asks why Rianer, who is clearly talented, would stick with their struggling guild. Lilia reveals that when Rianer first arrived in Brea, she too was rejected by the top guilds. However, Lilia's father saw her potential and welcomed her into Dragon Fang. Touched by the loyalty, Errol nods in understanding. Though Lilia worries about facing enemy teams with up to 5 members, Errol feels only excitement, eager to test himself against stronger opponents. Declaring that fighting powerful enemies is why he came to Brea, he accepts the challenge with enthusiasm. Secretly observing, the Guildmaster takes note of Errol's incredible potential. Thus ends the 2nd episode.